Hello, my name is Omar Rambisad. It's Wednesday, April 17, 2019 at 4:28 p.m. in Toronto. So I'm going to give you today's example of the tagging, electronic tagging that is part of the trafficking that's being carried on in this building. So the tag is on and off. Air. So it's off on the side. It's off. And it's point specific. The hand on and off. So my blood pressure readings have been normal because the pattern of pulsing and the power has changed. It is it's going up and down, so the pressure doesn't go up and it doesn't keep going up. So there are rest periods in between. But right now the power is turned up because I'm blogging. And I'm just going to take my blood pressure. I'm just curious to see if the pressure did go up. It's off. And the back is tagged, the liver, just underneath the right breast, and the and above the right kidney. So the power here is low, high, low, high, high, and it's 120/76. So, but the heart rate is 92 in a sitting position for the last hour. So the previous, the ones before that, the heart rate is all over the place. So this is the one I just took, 120/76, heart rate 92. The one previous at 421, 113/75, heart rate 85. The third one, 120/73, heart rate of 102. That's 347. And at 112, the heart rate was 85, and the blood pressure was great. So even though the pressure is not fluctuating widely, the heart rate is affected. So I did a bunch of tweets today about sex slavery and channeling targets into the underground, and the kids that the channeling, the trying to find another word there for channeling, the tunneling. same thing, of the kids. First you select them, then you put them through an MK-like program, an MK Ultra type program, and you sabotage their lives, and you send them into the underground, and then they're used as for whatever the perpetrators want, the criminals want. They could be sex slaves, they could be drug addicts, they could be drug runners, they could be whatever it is that you mind control a person to become. So I strongly suspect that Paul Bernardo is such a person, and all the other so-called random being the operative word, the random occurrences of horrific satanic ritual type abuse and torture and murder. Random. Of course, as we all know, Satanism is practiced. There's nothing random about it. Torture is practiced. There's nothing random about that. And there are criminals who will use every and any method and tactic to victimize their targets. And if you are flagged with the cops, then of course you're a target. So you're walking around with a big red mark on your forehead, basically, just to attract criminals. So I talked about mind control as part of this targeting program. And there seemed to be a reluctance by the authorities and the court system. Although I think that if you present enough information in the court, if you get there, it's getting to the point where it's becoming more and more acceptable that these types of technologies, of course, exist. They are being abused and used by criminals. So I did a little bit of research to see how common it's becoming for our brains to be brainwave patterns, how common it is to be read and hacked into. Our brain can be hacked very easily, given these types of technologies. So one article that shows how common it's becoming is in the ScienceDaily.com website, ScienceDaily being one word.com. And it's called Hackers Could Use Brainwaves to Steal Passwords, Study Finds. And I'm just going to go through and read some relevant points. So the summary at the top is EEG headsets growing in popularity among consumers need better security, suggests a team of researchers who say that hackers could use the items to steal passwords. Researchers at the University of Alabama at Birmingham suggest that brainwave sensing headsets, also known as EEG headsets, need better security after a study reveals hackers could guess a user's password by monitoring their brainwaves. EEG headsets are advertised as allowing users to use only their brains to control robotic toys and video games specifically developed to be played with an EEG headset. There are only a handful on the market, and they range in price from $150 to $800. Very cheap. Nitesh Saxena, PhD, Associate Professor in the UAB College of Arts and Science, Department of Computer and Information Sciences, PhD student Ayaja Nupayan, and the former master's student Lotfa Rahman found that a person who paused a video game and logged into a bank account while wearing an EEG headset was at risk for having their passwords or other sensitive data stolen by a malicious software program. These emerging devices open immense opportunities for everyday users, Saxena said. However, they could also raise significant security and privacy threats as companies work to develop even more advanced brain-computer interface technology. Saxena and his team used one EEG headset currently available to consumers online and one clinical-grade headset used for scientific research to demonstrate how easily a malicious software program could passively eavesdrop on a user's brainwaves. While typing, a user's inputs correspond with their visual processing, as well as hand, eye, and head muscle movements. All these movements are captured by EEG headsets. The team asked 12 people to type a series of randomly generated pins and passwords into a text box as they were logging into an online account while wearing an EEG headset in order for the software to train itself on the user's typing and the corresponding brainwave. In a real-world attack, a hacker could facilitate the training step required for the malicious program to be used accurately by requesting that the user enter a predetermined set of numbers in order to restart the game after pausing it to take a break, similar to the way CAPTCHA is used to verify users when logging onto websites, Saxena said. So I'm just going to skip ahead here. EEG has been used in the medical field for more than half a century as a non-invasive method for recording electrical activity in the brain. Electrodes are placed at the surface of the scalp to detect brainwaves. An EEG machine then amplifies the signals and records them in a wave pattern on graph paper or computer. EEG can be combined with a brain-computer interface to allow a person to control external devices. These technologies was once highly expensive and used mostly for scientific research, like the production of neuroprosthetic applications to help disabled patients control prosthetic limbs by thinking about movements. However, it is now being marketed to consumers in the form of a wireless headset, and is becoming popular in gaming and entertainment industry. Given, and this is only the start, given the growing popularity of EEG headsets and the variety of ways in which they can be used, it is inevitable that they will become part of our daily lives, including while using other devices. Saxena said it is important to analyze the potential security and privacy risk associated with this emerging technology to raise users' awareness of the risk and develop viable solutions to malicious attacks. So, brainwave hacking is not science fiction. It's definitely reality. And of course, it's wireless. So if somebody were, if a group of people were researching brainwave patterns and they wanted to find how far they can push a human being into doing things that a normal human being will not do. And that could be on the positive side and on the negative side being evil, as Bernardo. First, you manipulate the brainwaves, and then as the person performed the acts, you record the brainwaves. And you can take that and put it into anybody else's head. So you can duplicate the template. Now, given that human trafficking is, and this is just one of the many, 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 many ways using technologies that you can, using technologies, it just increased the number of ways, I should say, that traffickers, criminals can affect their victims once you're targeted. So when I demonstrate these signals, that is on my body, that's being reflected off my body, and it's not around me. It's not around me, right? But it's bouncing off my body. And in the same spots that they're bouncing off, I feel pain. And once the alarm goes off, there is no pain. There is nothing extremely unusual about the use of these technologies that I'm demonstrating. There is nothing unusual in my demonstrating this crime the way I'm doing it. There is no paranoia, there is no delusions, there is no mental illness. This is fact. What I'm demonstrating here is a fact. Now, if the police refuses to believe it, then that's a whole different story. Then the question obviously needs to be asked. Sorry. And my mouth is extremely dry right now. The question needs to be asked why. If the cops are not believing what is fact, and it's just refusing to admit that it is true, then something is wrong with the person. Something is wrong with his mental faculties. Because a fact is a fact. If you're demonstrating a fact, then somebody can't say, no, it's not true. Because if the person then says, no, it's not true, then something is wrong with the person. It's a scientific fact. So it has to be admitted as such. So if somebody is saying, no, something that's obviously true is not, then that person is mentally ill. And that person should be taken to task for not believing you. I think we as Canadians, we tend to believe believe the professionals, our doctors, our lawyers, our court system, and we don't question what goes on behind what's being said to us. And we should start questioning it in more detail. We should ask for more backup. Because the professionals, as we know, are corrupted in some cases. It's not that they are not capable of doing their jobs, as is demonstrated in several corruption situations where people has been exposed and taken to court, politicians, lawyers, doctors. I mean, it's a fact that professionals are infiltrated and professionals are paid off to do and say certain things that's not true. So if we question our doctor, if we question our lawyer, this has no reflection on our mental capacity. If a court personnel is saying, gee, I think the way she's handling her case is a reflection of how mentally ill she is or how mentally incapacitated she is, then this is nonsense. I mean, when I went to university, I was taught to question. This is what university is all about. It teaches you to question. And as a kid, I always questioned anyway. So, I mean, it just goes against the grain of a democratic society not to question the people we put in power, our politicians, not to question the intent of the professionals in our society that's working for our government. It's our duty to ask questions, to get answers that make sense to us. I mean, we are not, as Canadians, we are not stupefied to the point where we can't ask questions, although there is an agenda. That's not Canadian agenda, but there is an agenda to stupefy the common man. But that's another topic. But I mean, as Canadians and as global citizens, we should be asking questions. We are too we are too quick to take the answers given to us and not question. Talk to you another time.